nice day, though. Real nice. Just chilling in the backyard. Chilling with the dogs. There's Charlie and Smokey. Oh, she's gonna roll on her toys. Oh, good. Smokey, you just love rolling on your toy? Is that your favorite? Just rolling on it. Give me that. Good job, Smokes. You got it. That's the girl. What we getting into? A little bit of weed. Just breaking up some bud. Hanging out with the dogs. Figure we smoke some pot and then start up the chainsaw. Maybe we'll start up the chainsaw, then smoke some pot. Fucking hair in there, man. Grinding up no hairs, man. Hey, what's up, 317? Hummingbird. There's still a couple of them around. Fat hamster. Howdy. You're making an album? Nice. Like a photo album? What's up, Elijah? Just gotta grind up some herbs. We're working with zesty parm, actually. Well, technically that is cheese, right? What's up, Colt? We're getting real zesty out here. You guys want to see my new chainsaw? Hold on, we gotta make you guys taller somehow. I'm gonna start up a chainsaw and hopefully none of my neighbors are sleeping. Mackay, you got jealous from the cannabinoids? No, this is a still. God damn it. Show you the numbers. It's a 261C. And here's the damn price tag still. You think it's a, you want to know what kind of saw it is? Check out this receipt. Going straight leather face. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good saw, dude. Yeah. Like on the shelf, I think I was saying this the other day. So that's a 261. On the shelf, they have a 291. And if you're looking at it and you see the two different numbers, 261, 291, you would think the 291 is better because it's a bigger number, but it's actually the 291 is like their home use version of that saw, basically. And it's like $600. And then that one, the 261C or whatever, it's like a CM, I think is what it actually is on the shelf. It's $729, you know, and then like, you know, it's got the 261 instead of 291. So, but it's definitely the better deal because it's got like pretty much, I think it's like a Pro Series saw, and the other one is more of like a home series saw. So it's got some features and stuff that the other one doesn't have, and that's what makes it a little more expensive, but it's so much better because of what it has. Like I think it's the 291 I think has like a plastic housing over the like the drive pulley, and then it doesn't have a hole that you can get to the tension nut. There's like a screw in there that you got to turn to adjust the tightness of your chain, and on the 291 you've got to take that housing off to be able to adjust the tightness, and on the 261 it's like you can see it through the housing, so you can do it with the housing on, which I guess makes it way better. And then there's something else on it that's metal instead of plastic. There's a couple parts on it I think that are like that. What's up, Pete? Your dad has like 10 chainsaws. He says you can never have too many of them. Hell yeah. Yeah, this is my first one, actually. You know, it's not too huge. There's way bigger saws on the shelf for sure, but it'll work for what I'm going to use it for. Just getting some firewood and shit. I don't know. I probably won't even try to cut a tree down with it for a while. I've never actually fallen a tree. I've pushed a couple trees over in my life, but they were already rotten. Just kind of standing there. Yeah, Husqvarna is really good too. It's like, that was my dad's favorite brand. That's the saw he had when I was a kid, and he trashed steel back then. And I think, you know, it's kind of like Ford and Chevy. There's supposedly Stihl chainsaws supposedly achieve a higher chain speed, which can be, you know, faster cutting through the logs, but then supposedly Huskies generate more like low-end torque. So even though they won't have as fast of a chain speed, they won't bog down as much. But they're both really good brands, you know. You really can't go wrong with either one of them. He does firewood selling, like he makes bundles and sells them. Oh yeah, there's some people that do that around here. There's a lot of people that just sell it by the truckload, but they're like those bundles are at all the gas stations and maybe even some of the grocery stores. Yeah, Callie's dad like owned a big well, I wouldn't say a big, but owned a logging operation. And so he's got a lot of old logging equipment, probably a shitload of old saws and just weird shit like that. Dude, Colt, people are selling cord of wood out here for $250. And then they're selling those little bundles of wood for like 15 bucks. But I know what you mean. You probably do make a lot more selling it like that. I know when I was a kid, my dad would take me and my little brother out in the woods and we would go and get 3 truckloads of wood in one day. We'd be out there early morning. We'd get like a couple of trees down, you know, and then we'd cut up all this fucking wood, load up the truck, bring it into town, go back out there, load up again, bring it into town. That would be about noon on this, by the time we get that second load back to town. And we'd go back out again, get a third load, come back, you know, be done for the day at like 4. We had 15 cord of wood stacked up in front of the garage, and my uncle came over to our house and threatened to burn it down because he was mad at my dad because my dad was selling it for $55 a cord. Now this was like 1996 or something, you know, or 95. So the most people were selling it for back then was like $75, but still my dad was basically undercutting everybody in town, and my uncle was pissed because he knew that my dad was only able to do it because he was using my brother and I as fucking slave labor, basically. Like he was chopping the trees down and sawing them up into rounds. I was the one doing pretty much everything else. I had to get those rounds down to the fucking road. I had to split all that shit. I would start throwing them in the back of the truck. My little brother would get in the back of the truck and start stacking, and I would just completely overwhelm him with wood, and then I'd have to get in there and fucking stack it too, and then I'd get back out and chop more and throw more in there, and it just, I mean, I worked my ass off as a kid, and I didn't get anything. I did not get anything. Nothing. Like that was the hardest part, you know. My dad on a day like, you know, I don't know, where he wasn't doing anything or whatever, and my brother and I would just be kind of hanging out at the house, he would tell us to get the fuck out, basically, you know, and we'd have to take the lawnmower and we would go and we would just go try to find somebody's yard that we could cut. He'd, you know, he'd tell us it's not that hard because their grass is going to be long. So we would go around and find somebody's yard and we would cut their grass for like $2 or $3. Like if it was less than the cost of the gas, I was gonna do it. And then, you know, I'd make, you know, three, maybe $4 in a couple hours walking around town, and then get home and my dad would take all of it. He always took our money. Yeah, he was fucking nuts, dude. Really bad. Like I'm sure I've went into it a little bit, but yeah, he was really nuts. Like I don't know. It's bad. Like my dad got out of jail in 2017, right? And he was out for a little bit. Well, then he got locked back up, and when he was in the county jail down here, he seen like one of the court recorder ladies or something. What's up, Bodie? McCoy, what do you mean? Is this is Lamar? That's not Lamar. It's got to be darker than that, right? But no, he was in the county jail, and he was seriously like putting his own poop into letters and mailing it to this chick that he thought was hot. And when he was in prison, he would write my mom letters and tell her, about the different like people that he was talking to and his cell and stuff. And there wasn't, I mean, he had a cellmate, but there was a lot more people. My dad, I think, is maybe schizophrenic. He probably had more going on than the doctors even knew. But when I was a kid, my dad would take 21 pills a day just to try to calm him down. He'd take like 6 in the morning, 5 at noon, like a couple more in the afternoon, and then a dose at night. Like he'd take it 4 different doses throughout the day. The last time I talked to my dad, it was at my brother's funeral in fucking January of 2005. Yeah, Bodie, he was. So that was a whole shit show because my mom had to pay the Montana State Prison so that my dad could go to the funeral. Like she had to pay the wages of 2 of the guards for basically 2 days because they had to travel, up. And then I think, well, maybe it was just the one day. It was like $2,500 that she had to pay just so that my dad could go to my brother's funeral. And then my dad looked like a piece of shit at my brother's funeral. He showed up in his orange jumpsuit, and he didn't have a haircut. He didn't have, any kind of. He just looked dirty and fucking nasty. And apparently, he was offered to get all cleaned up for the funeral and fitted for a suit and everything. And he said that he wanted like the people in my town to see how he was living, like as if he was some kind of victim, which really pissed me off. And I found out about that, and I decided not to talk to him anymore. Which that wasn't the only reason. Yeah. Well, and it was fucked up because he was sitting right up front at the funeral, and there was like the media there, and like some reporters were squatting down right in front of him, and I was sitting next to my mom, and then it was like me, my mom, and then my dad, I think. And my dad he was in his oranges, and his hands were shackled, so he couldn't even fucking touch his face, basically. And like the reporters were squatting down like right in front of him and taking pictures like fucking from me to the camera away, which pissed me off. But it's in that moment I'm not gonna make a scene or whatever. But there was a lot that pissed me off with my dad or with my brother's funeral. When we got out to the fucking cemetery, my uncle was drunker than fuck, and he was 2 rows behind me at the graveside. We were sitting in these metal chairs, and they were set in rows, and I was at the front row, and then my uncle was like in the middle row, like I said, 2 rows behind me. And one of my brother's classmates, this chick, she had twin babies, and they were both in a different car seat, and she was standing there holding them and kind of trying to rock back and forth like she was moving the car seats, trying to keep the babies calm, but they were crying. It was fucking cold out, but I mean, I appreciated that she was there. But my uncle, being all drunk and whatever, he was standing there. And mind you, Taps is playing, okay? Taps was fucking playing. I'm in my dress blues, standing at attention. And my uncle was behind me complaining about these babies because they were crying, basically. You know? And it really pissed me off. I was really mad at my uncle for that because he shouldn't have been running his fucking mouth. He shouldn't have been talking at all during Taps. And maybe he didn't know it like that. But Taps is really important, especially at a funeral. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He was kind of a drunk at that point, and everybody goes through things and deals with grief differently, I guess. But yeah, it pissed me right off, and I had to stand there and not move, and I didn't, and then I had to help lower the coffin and everything, and they folded the flag, and I was standing right there when they gave it to my mom, basically, and then everybody just left. But yeah, it sucked. But yeah, and like I was saying earlier, my dad was crazy as fuck. And he made us do a lot of crazy things. He did a lot of crazy things to us. Like he used to, I think, at least, probably at least 10 different times, he held a gun to my head. Like straight up pressed his fucking fully loaded 44 Magnum right to my head. And I was just sitting there on the couch, and there was nothing I could do. He's a fucking psycho holding a gun. All I could do is look up the barrel and see the rounds in the cylinder and think, fuck. And then he would usually smack me with the gun or just fucking punch me or some shit. And then that would pretty much be that. Yeah, Zombie Boss, he went back. Like I said, he went to prison in 1997. And then he got out in 2017. So he did 20 years flat. Then he got out. He was out for like a year. Then he got into it with the cops again. He went into town dressed up like a fucking mountain man, basically. He apparently had taken a whole bunch of sewing needles and stuck them in his clothes all over the place to where when the cops tried to take him down, they were getting stuck with needles all over, and so they couldn't really deal with him. Hey, what's up, Grinch? Yeah, I shaved my head, man. It was fucking too warm with all this hair, and it was receding back to like here. So I was just getting tired of it. It was bullshit, and I'm like, yeah, screw it. I mean, my driver's license looks exactly like this, so I've definitely done it a few times. I actually do this, at least once a year. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so anyway, he had put a bunch of sewing needles in his clothes and shit, right? And the cops had to tase him. When they tased him, he was on the ground, but they really couldn't touch him, and so they had to wait for EMTs to show up. And then luckily one of them was a girl I went to school with that knew my dad, and she was able to kind of talk him down a little bit. But and then they got him arrested, and I don't know, he got a bunch of different charges. I'm not even sure what all his charges are. And like I said, I haven't talked to him since 2005, and I don't plan on it. Sometimes I think I should, you know, and I do miss him. It sucks not having a dad, you know. But yeah, he's a fucker. And there's a lot of things I cannot forgive him for. A lot of it wasn't even the shit he did to me, you know? The shit he did to my brother, shit he did to my mom. Yeah, he's a fucking asshole. Like, I got interviewed by CPS when I was 7 years old. You know, and it was my second grade teacher. She must have seen some bruises or some shit. And, you know, so I got called into the principal's office to talk to the CPS lady. And I thought I was in trouble. You know, I'm like, oh, fuck, what did I do? Because they just say, get to the principal's office. And then I got in there, and this lady wanted to know what it was like at my house. And so I told her. I told her exactly what was going on. That my dad would grab me by my ankle and my wrist and kind of spin throw me into the wall. You know, and I'd hit the wall at about head level of his head, you know, at about 5-6 feet in the air. I'd bounce off the fucking wall, hit the top of the couch, come off the top of the couch, hit the cushion of the couch where you sit, bounce off that, hit the floor. By the time I come off the cushion part, I'd be spinning so much that I wouldn't know where the fuck I was. And so when I hit the floor, I would just hit all wrong. And that would really hurt. And then while I was trying to recover from hitting the floor and probably the wall, my dad would be right there just kicking me. And if I stood up, he would punch me. And that would just go on as long as he fucking wanted. And that's what I told the CPS lady. And there was other shit too, you know, he fucking held a sword to my throat. He would make my brother and I fist fight each other all the time. And when I was 7 that same year, my brother and I were forced to fight, and I hauled off and punched my brother right in the face, and fucking, you know, I was mad, I guess. So like most of the time when we would fight, we would just stand there crying, and we wouldn't want to fight each other, you know, and my dad would threaten us. He would say if we didn't fight each other, we'd have to fight him. And eventually we would end up fighting. But on this one occasion, I was really mad at my little brother. And so when my dad said fight, I just popped him one right in the nose. And Raleigh, my little brother, he took off running. He was bleeding and he was crying. And normally when we would actually fight, when my dad would make us fight, that's like we would hit each other enough times that somebody would start bleeding, and then my dad would say, okay, there's blood, that's it. And so I kind of thought that was it. And you know, so when I hit Raleigh and he took off running, I turned around to look at my dad, thinking that on this day he might actually be proud of me because I did exactly what he said to do. And fucking, I think, you know, he wasn't satisfied because he wanted both of us to get hurt. And so he fucking punched me right square in the fucking nose. Like, I turned around, and that's pretty much where my memory gaps. Like, I can remember turning around and looking at him, and then I can remember being in the bathroom, and my mom had my face held over the sink, and I was bleeding out my nose. and it seemed like the blood was coming out of my nose as fast as the water was coming out of the faucet. Like there was the same flow of both things. And my dad came in the bathroom and was like, tip his head back. And then she tipped my head back. And then, you know, it took a minute or two for my nose to stop bleeding. And then that was it. After that, whenever anything happened, like I got in some fights and stuff at school, and I was pretty well known that I couldn't get a bloody nose. You couldn't do it. You hit me in the nose and nothing would happen. I was 7, Blaze. And, you know, because I had told CPS all this shit, they ended up getting the law involved, right? And the fucking cops came up to my house and wanted to talk to my dad. He decided he wanted to kill himself because he didn't want to talk to the cops or go to jail. He said he would never go to jail. That was something he always said. And that was the night he tried to get me to stab him. You know, the cops were going to come over and take him away, basically. And he was sitting in his chair in the living room, and he had a big fucking knife. And he had a wet rag wrapped around the handle of it. And he was sitting there asking me to stab him, saying that, you know, the rag would keep my fingerprints from getting on the handle, basically. And I was just standing there holding the knife, crying, you know, begging him not to make me do it. And he's fucking screaming at me, calling me a pussy, you know, for not stabbing him. And then I would not do it. I stood there for as long as he kept yelling at me. And then eventually he just took the knife away from me and told me to get the fuck away, which I was really glad to get the fuck out of there because I was scared that he was going to kill me. And then he ended up taking a whole shitload of pills that night. And I think he just went to the hospital or some shit. And then it was like a couple days later, he was back at the house and the cops came again. And he went down there to go talk to him. They said they were just going to talk to him, and then they ended up arresting him. And then they hauled his ass off to, I guess, like the Mayo Clinic or something. They took him over to Rochester, Minnesota. He was gone for like, it was like 90 days, basically. And basically from the moment he left, my mom started in on me for talking. And she blamed my dad being arrested on me for talking to CPS. And then he came back. And things got way, way worse. And we never told anybody shit. We'd go to school and lie, basically. We would lie to our teachers and tell them that we were fighting each other. And my dad was smart to make us fight each other like he did. He'd have us fight right out in the fucking front yard. And the neighbors and shit would be walking by and they'd always be rooting for my little brother. Which, you know, I always felt like the bad guy in that too. I did actually want to get to be old enough to fight him. He always said I would too, when I was a kid. He said, when you get to be 18, you're going to want to fight me. And I couldn't comprehend it, dude. He was too fucking strong. He was too fast. I could not comprehend fighting that guy. But yeah, it It was everything I had in me not to go deal with him when he got out of jail, because I knew where he was and I wasn't far from him. And yeah, there was a lot, dude. There was a hell of a lot that went on. You know, that was, like I said, that was when I was 7 years old when he went to Rochester, and then he didn't go to prison till I was 15. I don't know if I've showed you guys. I think I probably have, but he fucking branded us. Branded me, my little brother, and himself. It's an 8, but it's really an infinity sign, and he would trace it in the air, and he would say it means what goes around comes around. And yeah, my dad was the craziest motherfucker that I've ever known. And I have known some crazy fucking people. But yeah, we're just talking about crazy shit, I guess. You know? Then I enlisted in the Marine Corps on 9/11 of all crazy ass days. Just happened to be trying to join the Marines on that day. You know, I had my childhood, and you know, it was crazy. Like, my dad got locked up when I was 15. My brother and I just went off the rails. You know, my mom was 4'11", like maybe 100 pounds. She couldn't control the two of us. And we had went from a life of walking on eggshells and just being totally afraid of everything to having unlimited freedom. And my mom would buy us beer. She'd get, you know, we'd smoke weed, whatever, pills, all of it. I fucking smoked pills when I was a teenager with my mom. Nothing I'm fucking proud of, you know, but that's how fucking bad it was. And then the Marine Corps was really an improvement for me. You go to boot camp and the drill instructors are fucking screaming at everybody, and I'm just like, yeah, but they're not really gonna hit me. And if they do it, they're not gonna beat the fuck out of me like my dad did. So I wasn't scared at all. I thought most of the shit they said was funny. Even when they were saying it to me, you know, it was hard not to laugh. But I think I already had a pretty good amount of discipline from my dad. So boot camp was fairly easy. The time sucked. You know, boot camp felt like my whole childhood. Like, you go to boot camp and it's like day one is your birth, and your graduation day is like when you turned 18. Like, it literally feels like it's fucking forever. I think it's the sleep deprivation that does it. The diet sucked too, dude. You know, some mornings for breakfast, all we would get is one of those little Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches, you know, and sometimes it would be the sausage patty, but sometimes it would be 2 slices of Canadian bacon. Now, we were only allowed one meat per meal, and that included that sandwich. So, you know, that was the way that went. Like, the drill instructor would tell you you had to remove one of the slices of Canadian bacon. And when you went and lined up next to the garbage can, that slice of Canadian bacon had better be sitting there. Yeah, like the chow hall in boot camp, at least when I went, was ran by recruits. So on week 6 of boot camp, you do this thing called team week, where instead of training and all the stuff that you would normally be doing, you go and work somewhere on the base. And I actually worked in like the base supply for my team week.
So I had to sit in there and issue guys that were brand new to boot camp their camis and all their clothing and stuff. And then when you go to the chow hall, like when you're a brand new recruit, the day you get to boot camp, you go through the chow hall, it's all these other recruits in there serving you the food. And when you go to get the food, you don't know what to say. So you just stick your tray out. They don't give you any food. And then you get shoved down the line. Your first day in the chow hall, you don't even eat because you don't know how. And then, like, after a day, probably, or maybe even less than that, you see how other people do it and you realize what you have to do. Like, when you step before the guy that's serving the eggs, you have to stick your tray out and say, "Eggs, recruit," and you have to say it, "Eggs, recruit," and he'll say, "I recruit," and then he'll give you a scoop of fucking eggs. But if you say, "Eggs, recruit," he ain't giving you no fucking eggs. He'll go, What was that?" Like, these guys are week 6. They're fucking hard, dude. They're mean. The recruits that have been in boot camp for 6 weeks are fucking mean. And they're serving you the food, so you're not getting any. I'm telling you, you ask for the eggs like a bitch. You're not getting no eggs. And so that's pretty much how you're getting your food, you know? You have to fucking ask a recruit for each piece of food, right? And then you get to the end of that line after you've gotten served whatever they gave you. And then the drill instructor's standing there and he inspects your tray and says, "Okay, yeah, you can't eat that, and that." And then you go sit down. The other thing about going to the chow hall is that when you go to the chow hall, the diets had to line up at the back of the fucking at the back of the formation, right? So we were like the last people in there. And then you get your food, you go sit down, you start eating, you've got 30 seconds, literally 30 seconds to eat. And if you don't get it done, that it doesn't matter, because there's a guy in the platoon called the guide. He is the #1 recruit. He's the guy that carries your guide on. It's like the flag with your platoon logo and all that shit on it. Fucking when the guide goes into the chow hall, he is actually very last to eat. And the guide will sit down with his tray, take one bite of food, and the drill instructor will say, "You're done." And then the guide will stand up. And when the guide stands up, the drill instructors will say, "The guide's done, you're done. The guide's done, you're done." Then all the squad leaders stand up and start saying it. And then everybody starts getting out. And as a diet, you sat down about 5 seconds before the guide. So, you know, you're just like looking at the guide out of the corner of your eye and just shoveling food in as fast as you can. The drill instructor comes over and he's like, "Why are you eating like a wild animal?" And I'm like, "Because you've turned me into one." And fucking, dude. And then you still have to go and line up next to the garbage. And you're standing there holding your tray, which is kind of embarrassing because everybody knows why you're fucking there anyway. Even if you've lost the weight. That was the other thing. I went from 199 to like it was like 184 in like 2 weeks. So I was under my height weight requirements from then on. So for the first 2 weeks of boot camp, I was overweight. After that, I was no longer. But I had to keep the diet tag on my camis, and I had to stay getting extra training. It was like, you know, you do everything else that everybody else does. But then at night, while you're all sitting there in the squad bay thinking it's about to be lights out, they'll come in and say, "Diets." And then they fucking march all you diets outside, and you do like a whole PT session out there in the sand. And then it's, you know, back inside, you don't even get a shower, nothing. You just go to bed all nasty. And it's rough. It's like that through all of boot camp. Like I said, you do not want to go to boot camp as a diet. You will lose weight though. I graduated boot camp weighing 173, which was, like I said, the lowest I've ever been. When I got done with SOI, the School of Infantry, I was up to 205, which I still looked about as skinny as I did at 173. I had just put on a shitload of muscle. Like I had gotten pretty stacked, you know, and it was because they were like in boot camp. Most of the running we did was in like our, we call them go fasters, our fucking tennis shoes and shorts. But in SOI, it's almost all boots and utes, and then your rucksack runs and rifle runs and all this shit. So I was just getting strong, and plus I was getting to actually eat how I wanted because at that point you're a Marine, you know. So you go to the chow hall, no one's fucking with you anymore. But you do have to watch your own weight basically as well, and yeah, it's not that hard to do, honestly, if you're in the fucking Fleet Marine Force, because they're fucking running your ass like, you know, pretty much Monday through Friday was our work week if we were in the United States of America, and you know, we wouldn't run any less than 2 miles. Maybe, you know, it would be NCOPT and the corporals would be hungover as fuck and they wouldn't really feel like doing much. So we'd go for a 2 mile run. Like that was the least we would run. And then staff sergeant would show up the next day and be like, bitches, we're going for a 5 mile, because he just liked to run. And then, you know, the next day we might have Lieutenant PT and he's going to do 3 or 4. Then on Friday, Captain is going to want to run 6 miles because he's a fucking maniac. And that's pretty much our work week. And, you know, you do that at like 5 a.m. Then you go to the barracks, take a quick shower. Then you go to breakfast. Then you go do a whole day's work. And then you get off work at like 5 p.m., you know, and then you got to be back at fucking 5 a.m. to do it all over again the next day. Then you get the weekend off where you proceed to drink your fucking self half to death and somehow hydrate the shit out of yourself on Sunday, get a fresh haircut, and then go back to work on Monday and do it all over again. You just need someone to follow you around and slap the food out of your hand. Yeah, you know what it is too, I think for a lot of people, I mean, you might have some fucking thyroid issues too, Blaze. I don't know if you've ever had that looked at, but I would consider having that looked at. Because it could be that you know, you're eating the same amount of food as everybody else. It's just your body does not do with it what it should. And that is true for a lot of people. And if you get on the right medication, you might just fucking drop weight like a motherfucker. But, you know, and it could just be a willpower thing. You know, and you got to tell yourself that the hunger is what you want to feel. You know, when you're hungry and you're feeling hunger pains and you go and eat something to give yourself that little satisfaction or endorphin rush, you need to embrace the hunger, you know. There's my neighbor, I think. Like, while you're hungry, you're losing weight. Some guy pulling a whole trailer down the alley here. You guess Kim is pissed? Why? Is there people doing a bunch of shit right across from him? Oh, the young kids? Yeah, there's a bit of a party house on the block now. They seem to have some money too. It's like a bunch of young girls, and they're parking Range Rovers and brand new Forerunners and all sorts of weird shit out here. And I'm supposed to just leave my Mike Myers mask in the bedroom. One of these nights I'll have to dress up like Myers and just kind of stalk around the neighborhood, you know, maybe kill a few people. No, I'm just kidding. I'm serious. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'll only wear it on Halloween. Actually, I got to find something else this year because I've worn it like 2 years in a row. Yeah, now I really can't kill anybody because they'll use this video as evidence and be like, see, he was planning it, it's fucking premeditated. Shit. Well, I guess you guys are all off the hook. You're all gonna live. Spooky cheerleader? Oh, yeah. Callie and I could dress like the cheerleaders on Saturday Night Live that would do the perfect cheer. Man, it's getting warm out here, you guys. Thought it was only supposed to be like upper 70s, but it's feeling like it's getting into the 80s. Jamali Wog. What are you doing, little wog? You little mollywog. Oh, Charlie's like, oh, are you giving attention to people? Are we doing attention right now? Hey, Annihilator, what's up, dude? Oh. Oh. She's just really focused on the neighbor pulling, or he's backing in a trailer over there. I don't know what he's doing, but Charlie's just sitting here being all innocent since he dug his massive hole yesterday, which it kind of filled itself in. There was still some mud flowing through or settling into that hole, I guess. Yep. We're just chilling. I don't know. I was thinking about playing Metal Gear Solid today, but not too sure. Not too sure on it just yet. Probably tomorrow. Maybe. I don't know. I am liking Cold War for some reason. I did play some BO1 this morning too, trying to get that figured out. You know, for some reason it still does not work doing just the display capture. It's fucking weird. I have to do a game capture. But that does work. Yeah, I've hit it twice, but I was turning the camera around when I did. But yeah, this is my piece, man. I need to wipe it down with some alcohol because, you know, it's shiny on the raised parts, but it is actually a lot cleaner in the lower parts too. It's dusty. August should be zombie month.
That was the one. Smokey, settle down. They just parked their trailer back there. I don't know. I think these people were living in the greenhouse over here, and I think they had sold it. Now this might be new owners or something. Might have to go throw some knives, you know, let them know how we do in this neighborhood. Yeah. I haven't done that in a while, actually. Throwing the knives. December is zombie month, or no December zombie month. I don't know how to interpret that. That's like a Kevin Malone situation. Do you mean see world? Like see the world or go to see world? Stay in the yard, Charles. Young Charlinaire. No. No. Stay back. Stay. Stay. It's sagging a little bit. Pissing me off. Man, I haven't been out here so long that my little standing spot has disappeared. It's so peaceful and quiet out here right now. Got to make a new spot. What do you mean? Damn it. Only got 3. It's reversed, Aaron. Hold on. If I put it Well, and then I can't see what you guys are looking at necessarily, but I can. This is the correct orientation. No, actually, you know, I throw both left and right-handed because I'm just that badass. How's it going, man? But yeah, this is what it should look like. No, that one's stuck. Whoops. A little sloppy. A little sloppy. Really sloppy. We had one really over rotated, one okay, but it wasn't on target, and then 4 that went everywhere. And I'm hitting the tin sometimes. You know, I've hit it a couple times. It's looking good. Yeah. Knives. There's a lot of thistles around here, which sucks. There's 3. Where's? Oh yeah, it's stuck. So sometimes the knives go between the boards, and then they slide down, but they can't go down far enough to get out. And then I've got this. Well, maybe. Never mind. That one did. Sometimes I got to push them back up and get them out of this crack, and it's a bitch. Yeah, thistles are little bastards. Little bastards. All right. Mm. Meow. Yeah. That was pretty good. I stuck like 5 in and around the circle that I was going for. Now I'm gonna try this one over here, which for you guys is looking like bottom right, but for me it's bottom left. Well, we stuck them all. One fell out as it was vibrating from the other ones hitting. So I guess we only stuck 5, and they're kind of scattered. Not bad though. Is this still live? How do I make it look like I'm throwing it at you guys without actually throwing it at you? know if you could hear the knives going by. Maybe. Sometimes they make a kind of a noise through the air. I'm not trying to take the camera out, which incidentally is my phone. I can't be doing that. Yeah, I was tired of my hair, dude. I was hoping it would start growing in better in the places that it wasn't. But yeah, it wasn't. Damn it. Can't quite get it in there. That's what she said. I think that'll be enough for now. Back to the yard. Yeah, I'm liking the new haircut. Well, and I bought a full wetsuit and it came with a hood, and I went to put that on, and between the beard and the hair, it wasn't fitting right. So hopefully it'll fit a little better without the hair, but my beard's pretty full too, so it kind of fluffs it and pushes it out. And watch out, Charles. I'm coming in. Yeah, I think when I grew my hair out last year and was slicking it back, that killed it. That was the last it could handle. That was the last straw. Ugh. I don't mind though. I've been bald half my life. It's kind of a summer haircut, you know. Yeah, I should do that, Aaron. Oh shit. That's the fucking workout. Just get a couple sacks of concrete and I'll just move them from one side of my yard to the other. I'll just have a pallet. I'll get an empty pallet and then an actual pallet of concrete brought in, or fucking bags, and then I'll just restack them across from each other, like 50 feet or something. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. Those bags are 80 pounds, some of them more. I've seen some more. They got some up here that are like a full-on sandbag, and then inside it is like a little plastic bag of the concrete mix, and I think those ones are 100 pounds. But it's like, you know, you're getting a pretty long sandbag with it, actually. It's weird looking. They got 60s too. Yeah, Aaron in the chat here, him and I used to fucking fuck around and load each other up with 2 bags on some jobs. We would be in the front yard, you know, and we'd need to bring a whole bunch of concrete to the backyard, and we couldn't drive or anything, and so we'd have to carry it back there. And just to save time or whatever, like Aaron would throw a second bag on my shoulder and I would run it back there, and he'd bring a whole bag with him, and then fucking on the next trip, I would put a second bag on his shoulder, and then I'd bring a bag, you know, and we took turns like that until my knee gave out. Well, that was, I think, I can't remember, it was the wheelbarrow or something tipped over when I fucked up my knee on that one. Remember you told me, you think it was as a workout that you move like 4 pallets a day? Yeah, that would do it. That would fucking do it. There's no strength like that either, like the actual work strength that you get, you know? Like gym muscles are glamorous, basically. But the muscle you get working, like doing that sort of shit, it's fucking like everywhere, basically. That knee went out multiple times. Yeah. Both of them would, honestly. But yeah. There was the one time little Aaron tackled me because he had just loaded up the coil gun with a new coil of nails, and then he went to walk away, and he didn't latch the coil thing right, and so it just popped out, and the whole coil just unrolled right there, and I was like, oh good, you know, and just giving him shit, and he just immediately spun around and tackled me, and there was like a fucking lawn chair behind me, and I kind of stumbled on that, and I think my foot might have got behind my leg or something, but my knee cap was off to the side of my leg. Like he came down on top of me as he tackled me, and that's when my knee went out, and he could see it in my eyes that I was like in a lot of pain or that something was wrong. And so he just hopped right up, and when he hopped up, I reached down and grabbed my leg, and he saw my kneecap over at like the 3 o'clock position on my leg. And then he saw me take that kneecap and put it back to the 12 o'clock position. And then my knee just went whoop, like it swelled up like a fucking grapefruit. Luckily, because it swelled up so much, my leg was like tight as a drum. Like I couldn't bend that knee for the rest of the day. So I was able to walk around on it pretty good. It was like its own splint of fluid and swelling. It was fucked. Those were the days, though. Back when I thought I could fucking walk it off, I guess. Now I'm getting some knee pain and stuff that kind of sticks around for a couple days. And I remember the VA telling me that my knees were shit and that eventually they were just gonna fucking be total shit and I might not be able to walk anymore. So I don't know. We gotta get those cyberpunk legs going. Stat. They do have some shit now. It's made by like Hypershell or something like that. It's like this belt thing that you put on, and then it's got this exoskeleton like thing that comes down your legs, and then it hooks to your legs right above your knees. And then I can't remember how many horsepower it is. It's like 1.3 or it's something like that. But when you step up with your foot, it picks up your leg, and then when you go to step down, it puts your foot down as well. Like, and I guess they got a pretty good run time for battery, like 12 hours or something like that. So I don't know. I might check one of those out. I kind of don't want to do that yet, though. You know, like I'd rather just do it on my own because I think that's the kind of thing that once you start using it, you can't do without. You know. But shit, I might be able to hike to the top of some of these freaking mountains with the thing too, you know? Just fucking wrap my knees real good and let the machine take me. But yeah, I don't know. Get a gear upgrade. Fuck yeah. Helping is really hurting. Yeah, with that sort of thing, I would say. You need the strength, you know? Like some of the hardest parts of hiking is actually coming downhill. That's it's brutal. Like you really have a lot of different weird muscles in your knees and stuff that you use to control your descent. And yeah, if I were to get those braces or whatever, it's like powered legs pretty much. I'd probably lose all sorts of muscle in my legs. I'd lose these calves, man. Charlie is over here chewing on a plastic piece of shit. Let's look at him. Living his best life over there. Yeah, Aaron, take it easy, dude. Appreciate you stopping in. I'll have to call you one of these days and tell you about all these huckleberries I'm getting. Charlie, what do you got? What are you doing, Charles? Little Charlton. Yeah. You want to hang out? Come here. Oh. What's up, buddy? Oh. The Charlie. Come here. Yeah. It's nap time. That's what it's looking like. He's in that chewing on shit, about to pass out phase. You don't have anything planned for dinner? Oh, good. Charlie's checking to see if I have anything left in my beard. Any extra lunch bits? Nope. All right, he's out of here. Yeah, it's getting hot. This is bullshit. I want to go back. I'm going to have to go down places. It's weird out too. It's all fucking cloudy out. Thanks, Blaze. I really have been working on my masculine physique. Yeah. Yeah, I might have to go check it out. Might have to put on my wetsuit. Yeah. I've been wanting to go back out and pick huckleberries, but I've also been really freaking sore. And then yesterday I wanted to go, but yesterday when I said I was gonna go, there ended up being a crazy thunderstorm for like 3 hours straight. So it was a good thing I didn't. Yeah, it's our spot down on some property over here, just on the edge of town. Do I need more berries? No. Do I want more? Yes. Why? I don't know. I can't figure that out. Like, I truly don't need any more, but I want more. Can I go live down there? Probably not. I think I get like 2 bars of cell phone service over there. Maybe on the way there, but then you guys would know the way there. I just noticed that hummingbird feeder is dripping over there. That's great. Yeah, it's up Webb Creek, which is up a spider's ass. It's deep in the woods. Yeah. No, but it's a nice spot. It's where I go for all my little shorts where I belly flopped the other day. All my fish friend videos, all that. It's right there. It's called Parmenter Creek. And it runs right through this town we live in, but Callie's dad owns, like some land that cuts right through the creek for about 400 feet. So it's like the property, their corner pins on the other side of the creek. And so the creek comes in at this one spot and then comes through the corner of the property. But yeah, it's about 400 feet of creek that is on their property, like fully. And they've got water rights to it and everything, so it's badass. There's just no gold. That's the only thing that sucks. Well, there's trace amounts of gold in there, but it's not really anywhere near like the bedrock. You'd have to dig like a 20-foot deep hole probably to find real gold there. And it would not be worth it. No. There's a saying, Zombie Boss, gold is where you find it, which means you'll find it if it's there. That's not always true though. There was another story, like in Helena, the state capital. There's a place called Last Chance Gulch, and apparently it was some guys, these 2 prospectors that were up in there panning gold, or trying to find gold for like a week or so, or maybe longer, but they were about to give up. And then one of the guys took one last pan like under some tree or something and ended up finding a shitload of gold. And then it started a whole gold rush into that area. And, then the town ended up becoming the capital of the state. But yeah, anymore though, in the modern era, most gold is fairly well known of. Like, if you're gonna go find gold, your best chance is to look on the internet. You can go like to the USGS, or it's like I think it's called Mindat or Mindat.org, and you can see like all the existing gold claims, or not just gold, but any ore. And then you can pretty much see like where there used to be mines, where there's active mines still. And, your best bet would be to find a spot where there was a gold mine and it's not active, or a gold claim that's not being
claimed anymore. Which some of those, what you'll find is that the person who has it claimed is still working it. They're just not bothering to claim it anymore because there's probably no one knows about it. But then you come fucking snooping around and they'll pretend as if they still have a claim on it, and it's not hard for them to go and get one probably. So, you know, it's best to try to get permission from claim owners if you can. But yeah, there's some gold out there that probably is still yet to be discovered as well. But a lot of it is already discovered, like I said, and it's listed in various places. But yeah, even like down here on the Kootenai River, you can go and pan gold in the fucking mud, you know, and you'll get little specks of gold, like probably like 2 or 3 per pan. It's nothing substantial, but you will get gold, right? And like at our spot up there on our swimming hole, I brought my sluice box and I ran a couple of buckets through it and then broke it down and panned that out, and I found one little speck of gold out of all that. So it's as if I did like 30 pans of gold and or 30 pans of dirt and found one speck, where I can just go down to the river here and in one pan I'll get a couple. But the river has a lot of different tributaries flowing into it, you know. It seems like where the gold is coming from as well with a lot of these cricks, like where you go and pan for placer gold, which is what it's called when you just find nuggets or flakes of gold or even little specks of gold. It's placer gold, right? And that gold seems to come from quartz rocks. And there's something to be said about going and just picking up quartz. Actually, as a matter of fact, I've got a lump of it in the back of my truck. Let's go look at it. Because people supposedly will go and pick up a whole bunch of quartz and then they bring it home and you can make a ball mill or some sort of rock crushing situation at home. And then allegedly you can find some pretty crazy gold in quartz. Now this is a big piece of quartz. You know, if you go down to your local river or whatever around you, if it's got rocks, you might find pieces that are like the size of your hand or something. You'd be lucky to find something this big. But this is all quartz. And gold could be trapped anywhere inside of this. When this came up from underground, it was a liquid. And it came up into like a crack basically as a liquid, and it was super hot. And then, you know, when it first came up, it might have been nothing but quartz. And then like the pressure died down and the fluid kind of backed off. And then the pressure builds up and it comes back up again, and maybe there's a little bit of silver in it, you know, and so you could get like you'll have like a band of quartz and then a band of silver right at the contact point of like the quartz where it meets the host rock or something. And then, you know, that process repeats itself over and over again, where you could have veins of gold, veins of silver, you know, all sorts of shit. Or there could just be a nugget in here. You know, a lot of these lumps of quartz are abnormally heavy for their size, like this one. This one's also got some weird, like, iron in it or something. I don't even know what this is. There's some weird black crystallization, maybe. I don't even know what that is. And then let's see, like you see this big hole right here? This is what's called a vug, V-U-G. There could have been a gold nugget right there. And
because this was exposed to the air, it started to oxidize, and then there it would have been maybe gold and then sulfides, which, you know, it's like when you go gold panning, you'll get a lot of black sand, and that's pretty much the sulfides. Like it's like a lot of like fool's gold, you know, and stuff like that could be in these vugs. And then because they're exposed to the air, they just start to decompose and fall apart, and then the gold pops out and ends up in the creek or the river, and then it goes flowing downstream over the next however many years, and every rock it hits, it gets smashed a little bit until, you know, it probably breaks into a whole bunch of little tiny pieces, or it maybe flattens out into one big flat piece. That's possible. But that's pretty much a lot of where the gold comes from. Oh man, you guys got to see this. The sun and this smoke ring is doing some crazy shit. It's like a fucking halo up there around the sun. Like the whole thing. Plus there's a jet flying through, leaving his supposed totally natural contrail. Let's go and see where that's leading to. Oh yeah, it's just, you know, totally natural. Nothing to see here on this totally weird cloudy day. Yeah, isn't that weird? The little sun ring. I can't really fucking film it very well because I'm having to look up at the sun like a dick. Burn my fucking eyes out. But yeah, I brought this lump of quartz home because maybe one of these days I'll smash it open and get rich. Probably not though. And I got a bunch of tools in the back of the truck in case we get stuck. We got a hand axe, sledgehammer, my pruners for whatever reason, a rake, my root bar, or it's like a fucking spear, dude. Jesus. We also got the Pulaski. The 4-pound. Over here I got my shovel. Come along. Come along, number 2. We got this strap because I was gonna try to pull a log with it. Also found this really cool rock down at the creek. Doesn't look that cool while it's dry, but just wait a second. I think it's cool. It's just a sedimentary rock, I think, but still pretty cool. Here's my patented rock mount that I made for my GoPro. Works fucking great. What are you guys snooping in the back of my truck for? God damn it. Got all my tools in there. Yeah. Fucking, there's like 1,600 flies out here. Fucking hate flies. We might only get one question from God when we die. And I'm going to ask him, were the flies necessary? I fucking hate them. You better not be, Blaze. You better not. You get a knife hand right in the ribs. And it will shake just like that. That's so it gets you get extra rib penetration. Yeah, you get one question. Dude, I'll tell you what. That's one of my, I guess, one of my pet peeves. If I have, yeah, I do. I have pet peeves, but that's definitely one of them. When people ask if they can ask a question, because when you ask if you can ask a question, you are asking a question. So the act of asking if you can ask a question is redundant. And if you ask somebody if you can ask a question and they say no, then that means they didn't want you to even ask if you could ask the question, so you've already fucked up. Don't do it to God. That's how you come back as a fucking worm or something. You come back as one of those weird sea worms that lives for like 100 years. Just stuck down there in the darkness, eating shit. Yeah. Or you come back as one of these flies flying around in my yard here. And then when you die, you respawn as a fly 1,000,000 times. What if we have to live the life of every creature we killed up till the moment of us dying at our hand? That would suck. My afterlife would be pretty rowdy. Be a lot of random fucking death. I used to kill a lot of birds and shit when I was young. I remember I was down at the fucking ball field when I was a kid and I found a dart set. It was like a professional, like, throwing dart set. And I brought it home and I had been kind of throwing them around, you know, and I was getting pretty good with it. Not like I didn't have a dartboard to throw at or anything, but, you know, I was just throwing it at the tree and shit. And then I was laying under a tree, which was probably the dumbest shit you could do, but I was laying under this tree looking up at a branch, and this little bird came and it landed on the branch. And I threw the dart straight up, you know, and I wanted to hit the bird. I had about 1% confidence that I would actually hit it, though, because I wasn't, like, you know, known to be super accurate or anything. And I just so happened to nail this fucking bird right through the chest with this dart. And it come down, you know, dead. Now I'm going to have to be that bird one of these days. Just flying around. Minding my own business. Life as a spider. Spiders are pretty badass. They're like the apex predator of the bug world. The only thing fucking up a spider is another spider. Yeah, you've killed many. Oh, yeah, you got to be all the spiders you killed. You're just running along the wall, living life on a fucking vertical plane or an upside down life. Yeah, I've killed a lot of spiders too. I've tried to get better about it here in the last few years. I don't know. I saw this fucking YouTube channel, or it might be like a bunch of TikTok videos that are going on YouTube, but it's this chick that has some pet spiders. And I don't know. It kind of made me look at spiders a little differently, basically. So I've been trying to be nice to them. And like, normally if you see one in the shower before you've turned it on, I'll just turn on the shower and rinse that little bastard right down the drain. See you, spider. Hope you drown. But nowadays, I'll catch them. I don't want to grab them with my hand yet. I'm not that fucking crazy. But I'll catch them on like a razor or something, and then usually they'll walk right on it, and then they'll try to walk towards my hand, and I'll be like, ooh, and I put them out the window, and I'll just try to get them on the windowsill or something outside the window, and then let them walk off. The main thing is I know that the spiders eat the flies, so we've got a fucking deal worked out here where I'm taking it easy on them, and in return, they're going after the flies. I just popped that one on my arm just now, you little bastard. Think you're fast? Not that fast. Now I'm gonna have to be that fly. Shit! That's all right. That'll only be like a day, maybe 2. Well, shit, you guys. I've been live all afternoon here. It's getting real warm. Thinking about maybe taking these animals for a journey to the... I can't say it. Where the hell's Charlie? Oh, he's behind me. Look at these two. This is our 2:30 fucking attitude, I guess. Yeah, Molly looks miserable. She's like fully pressed up against the house because that's the coolest part of the backyard. And then, yeah, Charlie's just like, yeah, this is crazy, man. Keep talking, Papa. I love the soothing sound of your voice. Should we go to the crick? Yeah, maybe we won't go to the crick. Molly's sleeping really hard, I guess. The crick. Let's go down to the crick. Molly, should we go to the crick? Should we load up and go to the crick? Should we? Yeah. Is that what you're thinking? Is that what you're thinking? Yeah, it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen Parks and Rec, But there's a part where the Andy or whatever sings the pit. Well, I just sing it as the crick. Yeah, now I have to go, right? Oh, I said the magic word. All right. Well, I guess I'll be going, you guys. I'll go in the house. Grab my wetsuit. Get these maniacs loaded up. And then we'll go down to the creek. We went down to the creek. The creek. Let's go down to the creek. We all went down to the creek. All right. All right, we'll see you guys. Have a good one.